Hi guys, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of Happy Chirp. आज मेरे साथ है मारिया जावेद. Hi Marya.
Hi Hamna, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
No.
हम पहले भी try करते रहे हैं but you're not always in the country and then sometimes मेरा season ही नहीं चल रहा होता, so we haven't been able to do it. But finally I got her in the moment ke I see you're here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, so thank you for doing that. Marya happens to be a filmmaker by profession, right? But more than that, I think there are a lot of layers to every person, and just like that, we will be discussing her professional and personal life and take lessons from her that I hope can help the rest of us. So we'll start with when you were very young, because we like to talk about
life journey.
I think the context of how someone got where they are
is important.
Especially for a lot of women in the country, because हर किसी का background फर्क होता है. Like मुझे होता है कि a lot of women should not feel like, why wasn't I able to do this? The context of it really
that's
matters.
A very good point. Yes.
And also like a lot of people, they had हर किसी के circumstances फर्क होते हैं. Some people have it really tough and they're still able to do that. So it's very important to see the whole picture.
Yes.
So Marya, with that thought, where were you born and raised mostly?
So my father was in the military and I was born in Rawalpindi, but then as army kids have it, brought up in small towns all over the country. And same story, har 2 saal baad school badal raha hai, And so I was pretty much brought up all over Pakistan. Yes.
Yeah. Do you think that has had an impact on your life?
I think it has had a huge impact.
Okay,
in not
ways?
more than one, in good ways and perhaps some bad ways, like everything in life. The good ways have been that I think it teaches you social skills very early on. You realize it very quickly that I have to move every 2 years and I have to make friends very quickly and I have to adjust very quickly. And as a child, you can understand you're not just changing schools, you're changing cities, you're changing a house, you're changing weathers. Bahawalpur se utke aap Koita pahunch gaye, ek din aap garmi se naksire aani hai, ek din aapko jackets pehnayi ja rahi hai. So you, as a child, you become very adaptable very quickly. So I think that's one of the, I think I carry that trait even now. I don't get freaked out if you leave me in a new environment. But uski flip side ye hai that I look at other people who've been brought up in the same city and they're like, oh, this is my childhood friend. We started in grade 1 together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know where my childhood friends are. I don't have any. So wo hai uska flip side. But I feel like, yes, on the brighter side, you do learn a lot of adaptability very quickly.
I think for me, because I'm also an army kid, so for me, I think one of the things it really taught me was because, you went to big cities and small towns and met all kinds of people. So what it sort of does is you learn to empathize a lot. Like it develops this empathy in you for all kinds of people from all kinds of places.
Yes.
Bubble thoda aapka, I know army bubble is a thing as well. But because you move around so much, your exposure and, you don't have, your bubble isn't that small because of your
I think
exposure.
You're 100% right, because even when I started making films, this question would pop up a lot. They would say कि आपने ये गाँव की लड़की की कहानी सुना दी है. How do you know गाँव में क्या हो रहा है? Or like, these people are like this. How do you have an insight into them? And it's so funny that as an army kid, you know this because you get access to different kinds of people from different cultures, different economic backgrounds, different social norms and values very early on.
Yeah, because even in the army in itself, जो families होती हैं, आर्मी में तो हर तरह के लोग जाते हैं. So उनकी families और उनका lifestyle, so you get to see that as well. और army community में there is no discrimination. You play with the same with everybody. You spend your time with all kinds of people with all kinds of backgrounds, and then you move into these countries. हाँ, आप रहते cantonment में हो ज़्यादातर जगहों पे, but आप जाते तो पूरे शहर में ही हो.
बिल्कुल, आपके neighbors पठान होंगे, सामने वाले अंकल जो हैं वो सिंध के होंगे, राइट वाली आंटी जो हैं वो गिलगित से आई होंगी, and you learn very early on that everybody is very similar in so many ways. You become, like you said, very empathetic. like you said, I don't think you can develop a bubble when you're brought up like that. You don't know what your bubble is.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's
too diverse.
It's too diverse.
Yeah. So I think that's a huge pro versus that con that you mentioned, uprooting yourself.
Yes, and for content creators, writers, I think that's a huge help.
That's a huge help.
That's a huge help.
So when did you finally settle here in Islamabad? So
I basically, when my father retired, he settled in Pindi, like most army people. Yeah. So that's how we ended up being here. Because of initially I was part of the corporate sector.
Achha.
Because as army backgrounds are, I don't know if many people know this, at least from the generation that my father is in, these things where you're part of the media, you're a writer, you're on television, or you're even like a public sort of any sort of thing, wasn't an accepted form of, what do you say, like an accepted profession.
हाँ,
so
आप आर्मी में अगर आपके अब्बू हैं तो आप नहीं अपने आप को आउट देयर कर सकते.
आप या डॉक्टर बन जाएं चुप करके या आप इंजीनियर बन जाएं, that sort of a thing. So I started off with the corporate sector. I went to Karachi for a bit to work. But my roots sort of have always been here because my parents are here. And I did move to Lahore in the middle for 5 years. That was a great experience for me because that's where I started working in television. That was my foot in the door for filmmaking.
Acha.
And from there I came back and I continued sort of working on the same thing.
Okay.
But I've been here most of my life, I can say.
Life. Yeah. I think Pindi mein sab army wale log time zyada guzarte hain. Okay, so my next question is what about your education? Where did you mostly get your education? Was it APS? Or did you switch like lots of private schools?
So like you said, like it's very important that people have that context. When we were in all these small cantonments, school की options ज़्यादा नहीं होती थी. सिर्फ एक आर्मी public school होता था. But when I was growing up, नए Beacon House City School were the new sort of upcoming cool schools, so to say. And I must give my mother credit. My mother's always had this thing that like, I don't care if my children aren't the best dressed in the room. I don't care if like they don't have the coolest toys. But I'll send them to the best school possible. Like every parent, the best decision she could make was to send us to the private school because she believed that we'll get better education there. So sort of city school ही मैंने skip किया है from one place to the other.
मैंने Beacon House किया है because असल में फ़ायदा बहुत था because they had branches like everywhere. And you just had to get a transfer.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was initially city school all over the place. Then I went to NUST. I did my bachelor's from there.
In what?
In business administration.
Okay.
And then I made a funny detour in life. I went to LUMS for a bit.
अच्छा.
मैं गई, मेरा MSc Economics में admission हुआ. So I was always a very nerdy student. Like I really wanted to excel at academics. I always had that kira. So in my head, doing like an MSc Economics from LUMS seemed like the thing to do as a nerd. But when I got there, I realized it pretty soon that like research and academics is not where I want to be in the longer run in life.
Right.
And then I came back, मैंने NUST से ही MBA किया, and then I joined the corporate sector. Yeah, so all my education is fairly local.
Okay.
I have no fancy degree.
But tell me this, growing up, what did you see yourself becoming? Did you see yourself working always?
Always.
Okay. Why do you think that is? Was your mother ever working? Because a lot of women, they never see themselves working.
My mother's always been a stay-at-home mom. And I mean, I think like वो सबसे मुश्किल काम है दुनिया का, by the way. Hats off to her because I've done that a little bit. I'll be living abroad. We'll come to that later. But I'm like, okay, women who do this, like, wow.
Yeah.
But I think, again, the credit goes to my mother because with both of us sisters, she'd never... I think the cool thing that my parents did was that they never put an idea in our head. Any. Sort of like, काम करना है, नहीं करना है. ये करना है, वो करना है. The ideas were never sort of like hammered. So because I was a nerd and because I wanted to excel at academics, मेरे दिमाग में हमेशा से था that I have to of course make use of this education somehow.
कुछ करना है मैंने बड़े होके.
कुछ तो मैंने करना.
So बड़े होते हुए what did you have in mind कि क्या करना है बड़े होके?
I have had a very funny sort of like, because I think I was a very imaginative child. So बहुत early on cants ke beech mein, like one day I'd wake up and I'd say I'm starting a restaurant, like as early as I was 10 years old. I'd like pull chairs in the garden and I'd be like, this is my restaurant. One day I'd be like, no, I'm going to become a fashion designer, so I'm going to stitch Barbie clothes, learned how to stitch. So I was always like this. I didn't know what I wanted to do, I'll be honest. I wasn't one of those people who are born knowing
मैंने ये बनना है.
Never. My mother used to make fun of me. My mother still does sometimes. She's like, अब अगले साल इसने कुछ और बनना होगा. And I'm like, I'm fascinated with a lot of things in life. And I say this to a lot of parents of children, that when you have a child who's good at many things in life, like say they're good at math and they're good at English and they're good at science and they're good at sports and they're good at art, people think कि ये बहुत bright बच्चा है and we should let them be. I feel like those children do need a sense of direction in life.
Okay. Why do you say that?
I'll tell you why. Because कुछ लोगों के लिए तो वो by process of elimination ही खत्म हो जाता है ना. Say for example you're bad at math. Your parents will be like, अच्छा engineer ये नहीं बन सकती, ये नहीं कर सकती, science subjects निकालो इसको art कराओ. So वो process of elimination से खत्म होता है. Now imagine you have a child who's ended up getting A's in like 10 subjects. And as a parent, you're left to decide for them or help them decide what is it that they want to do. And then they're also somebody who's equally interested in all 10.
मतलब उसका अपना भी कोई वो नहीं है कि नहीं मैंने ये करना है.
नहीं,
उसको है कि
always like
I like this as well and I enjoy doing this as well.
So and I guess it might help somebody to know this, that it's okay to be like that, because I was somebody who loved biology. So I would think कि मुझे डॉक्टर बनना चाहिए. And then I was somebody who loved art. So I used to be like, नहीं, I'm going to become a painter one day. I used to paint a lot. I used to love music. I used to play the piano. So I used to be like, maybe I can become a musician. So it took me a while to do all these different iterations in life. And I think I've been a bit of like a stubborn person like that I was like, I do want to try everything a little bit and see how it works.
Yeah, and a very explorative mindset of sort of और आप जो भी करो उसकी कोई growth आपके अंदर होती है.
Of course, it ends up leaving some skill, some knowledge, something that you learn from there.
Yeah, true. Okay, so then why did you end up doing, what led you to the decision of doing business administration, since you said that you were interested in like lots of things?
Yeah.
तो फिर BBA क्यों?
BBA इसलिए कि उसका कोई inspirational answer नहीं है, but I guess again there's a lesson there that out of the options that I had at that time, एक engineering की option थी, एक medicine की option थी, एक business की option थी, and because I think I was good at math and I loved math also. My mother was very against the idea of me becoming a doctor.
Okay.
Because she always maintained कि ये उनका अपना कि like 10-15 साल, which is true, बहुत पढ़ाई होती है.
Yeah, my mom used to say the same thing.
कि बेचारे पढ़ते रहे.
आगे तो मैं देखने में my mom used to say मैं तुम्हें पूरी जिंदगी किताबों के आगे नहीं देखना चाहती.
She used to be like, they have to study so much. Yeah. So वो निकल गया, and then engineering, frankly, I just didn't really excite me. So out of the options available in Pakistan between IBA alums and NUST, the business degrees were the ones that had my interest. And बस closest to home, best college, ये है.
बस वो कर लिया. But I also feel like people who like to do, who could be interested in anything or would want to do anything should do business administration.
Yes,
because that kind of shows that they will probably end up doing something that they feel like doing, which will probably be something of their own.
Right.
And then
it gives you like an entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes.
It teaches you a little bit about everything. थोड़ा सा account सिखा देंगे, थोड़ा सा economics सिखा देंगे, थोड़ा सा sociology. So you do get a holistic picture of the world.
Yeah, and you can apply that in whatever you do.
Want to do. Yeah.
So ठीक है, BB भी हो गया. Then you decided कि अच्छा लम से आपने MSc Economics करना है, which then did you finish it?
No, I left it after a term.
Okay. Yeah. You realized, nahi, this is a waste of my time, sort of a thing. Okay. Then what happened? Like, is that somewhere where you decided to? Oh, you said that you stepped into
the corporate sector.
Yes. So, what was that like?
It was great. I started off with Procter & Gamble in Karachi. And I say this to everyone I meet. I feel like every young person should go to the corporate sector for at least a year in their life. I feel like it teaches you so many things, like just the discipline of waking up every morning at 7 a.m., going to work, coming back, even if you don't like it, even if you don't like your boss, because that's how life ends up being at a lot of times. And I feel that, this new agey thing of like that your work will inspire you every day and you'll wake up and you'll be like, har roz aap ek optimism ke saath uthenge, aise nahi hota. There are days you have to drag yourself to work, no matter how much you love it.
Yeah.
Right? So P&G was great because it taught me how to be competitive. It taught me how to go through days where you have no energy to make it through 6 p.m., but you have to do what you have to do. It taught me how to live alone. It was my first time sort of living so far away from home. Karachi. In a city like Karachi. As a girl who was like, I think at that time, 23, 24, like tab Karachi was quite unsafe also. Rakshe mein kele baith ke idhar udhar jana. I remember एक रमज़ान आ गया था बीच में, रोज़ सुबह उठ के अकेले सहरी करना, अकेले इफ्तारी करना. These are things that teach you so much.
Yeah.
And you don't realize them unless you do them, and they also teach you to value so much. Like I tell everyone that I started valuing Ramzan at home with my family so much after that experience. Yeah. Because I'd wake up and I'd be like, मैं नहीं करनी है सहरी, बस कोई नहीं आएगा table पे.
Because I think for a lot of us, Ramzan is a very family communal thing.
Yes.
And you like पूरे साल में वो एक दफा you really bond with your family over this.
I think it's one of the only times now in today's time and age where लोग इकट्ठे बैठ के दोनों meals खाते हैं, and that's so nice. I met a lot of interesting people there that have become lifelong friends. And again, I feel like that's so important to sort of go to places like Procter, like all these, like जहाँ पे already sift through करके उन्होंने एक खास तरह के लोग बिठाए हुए होते हैं. Because that sort of, like I always say this, I really believe in this, that if you're with 4 fools, you're the 5th fool, right?
Okay.
So with the same logic, if you're with 4 smart, ambitious people, you become the 5th smart, ambitious person.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's how Ivy Leagues work. That's how most places in the world work. You place yourself in an environment where the aggregate is above a certain level. आप खुद ब खुद उनको match करना शुरू कर. You're pushed up.
Yeah.
Versus you put somebody smart in a slightly regressive environment. Soon before you know it, you'll be like, अच्छा मैं तो इन जैसा ही हो गया हूँ.
Yes, that is so true. Yes.
Which also, by the way, reflects in, which is why I'm so careful about the people that you surround yourself with going forward in life.
Yeah. Because it has a huge impact on the way you think.
And you don't even realize it, but it has a huge impact. But yes, so Procter was great. Then I shifted from there to Telenor. Because उस वक्त Easy Paisa launch हो रहा था, mobile financial services, for the first time in Pakistan, which was like a big deal.
Yeah.
And Telenor, I think, has had an immaculate reputation for work environment, for egalitarian culture. And it was closer to home. So I was like, I'm moving back. Then I was at Telenor for a couple of years. And that was great. I mean, that was also lovely. It wasn't as cutthroat as my last organization. It was a lot more chilled out. I
think that's generally Islamabad as well. Yeah.
Also, it's because that's, I think, I think वो culture थोड़ा सा फर्क है. There are some companies still corporate sector की which are very cutthroat and then
telcos generally aren't like that.
So that was great. Again, made a few friends that have become lifelong friends. Learned a lot.
So then how did you end up leaving the corporate?
So basically, after that, I got married. I moved cities. I went to Lahore for a bit.
Okay, so you moved because you got married.
I moved because I got married. Okay. And then when I moved to Lahore, like I said, I think all that learning about moving cities, learning a new, what do you say, syntax, सब कुछ बदल गया, you know. फौजी नहीं है लाहौर में ज़्यादा, कल्चर बिल्कुल फ़र्क है, everything is different. So that sort of knowledge came in really handy. And there, I, again, explorative mind, so basically accidentally stepped into dramas. And I mean, after I did my first television drama as an actor, I started off as an actor.
Really?
Yeah. I was bad.
But how did that opportunity come even?
Right. So, Facebook पे एक वो देखा
अच्छा
कि सरमद खुसट is auditioning for a television drama.
And you weren't working?
No, I wasn't working.
Okay.
I was still figuring out.
You had changed your city, so you were figuring
तो
out.
मैं अभी सोच रही थी, should I go to the corporate sector? What should I do? And literally randomly found this post on Facebook saying that Tharmat Kusit is looking for actors and all. And I was like, I've never auditioned for a television play, so this might be fun. Literally like that. अपनी तस्वीरें भेजी, गई, audition दिया, got a call, did it. Real fun. Like I said, every experience teaches you something. That play had Misha Shafi in it, Sania Saeed in it, Hina Bayat in it, Umair Jaswal in it.
That's a very stellar cast. Yeah.
I mean, made friends with all of these people and learned so much also. But मैंने television से, I think I was lucky because I started off with somebody like Sarmat.
True artist.
Who's also very passionate about what he does. So I don't know why. It just like the penny dropped on my head that everything that I've learned in life, say for example, writing, organizing a team, meeting timelines, deadlines, creating something of your own, marketing it, selling it, finding the right audience for it, packaging it in a certain way. I was like, films can offer me a platform where I can put all of this together. It's so synergistic in its essence that it's art, it's business, it's organizing, it's everything coming together. So I was like, this is what I'm going to
do. Interesting. Yeah. And sometimes like you have to have that experience to realize, all my life I have come,
yes, this is because I'll give you a small example. Even something as small as like I like to dress up, right? And I was like, so fashion, makeup, music, story, camera work, aesthetic, everything, just I can put everything into this.
Yeah.
You know?
Interesting. And so then you got into, and that's officially where you got into like filmmaking, or why did you not pursue acting?
I did not pursue acting, frankly, because I realized it very early on that to be an actor, you have to be a certain kind of person.
What is that?
I think, of course, there are people who have negated what I'm going to say. I'm speaking for the majority of people. Whatever you do, once you get into the business of the camera looking at you having to look a certain way, like for the lack of a better word, it is like a bit of like a vanity business at the end of the day.
Okay.
And you have to be very grounded, very sure of who you are, very committed to your craft, to not let the noise around you carry you away.
Okay.
I hope I'm making sense, right?
Makes sense, huh?
मैं मिसाल देती हूँ. So like the first drama that I did, and I'm not saying she came from a bad place, this fellow actress of mine, she came to me and she said, तुम बहुत सक्सेसफुल एक्ट्रेस बन सकती हो, बस तुम ऐसे करो, जस्ट लाइक गेट लाइक अ नोज जॉब और हल्के से अपने लिप के फिलर्स करा लो. एंड आई बिलीव्ड हर. आई वाज लाइक श्योर दैट मेक्स सेंस. आई टुक अपॉइंटमेंट्स. आई वेंट and I don't know what happened. Like once I started thinking like that, I was like, what am I doing? ये क्या हो रहा है? And I don't know. I realized that, like I said, maybe there are people who have that solid base inside them where they don't get swayed by this, or if they get swayed by this, they don't let it bother them so much. I wasn't going to commit my life to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because also I thought that I got offered a few dramas after my first drama. That was another deciding factor for me.
Okay.
अब वो जो स्क्रिप्ट आ रहा है ना, उसमें आप एक बहन है, आपके भाई की शादी हुई है, फिर आप उसकी बीवी को अगले दिन घर से बाहर निकाल देती हैं, आप अपने भाई को जहर दे देती हैं. आप आई एम लाइक नहीं, मतलब इतनी इवल ख़वातीन क्यों हम दिखा रहे हैं. एक और मिला, इट वॉज अ वेरी पॉपुलर वन, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू नेम इट. दैट गर्ल, वो अपनी उसका बच्चा नहीं होता तो वो अपनी बहन का बच्चा चुरा लेती है हॉस्पिटल्स. I was like, listen, I'm sorry, these are not stories that are I don't see why we're telling these stories.
Yeah.
And I thought that there's so many stories that I have in my own head. So sort of these two things combined in my head, and I was like, maybe I should do my own thing. I did television for a while with Sarmat as an assistant director, as a producer.
Which is good. I think you need that experience.
वो मेरी sort of film school training थी, as I call it. And but after that, I sort of realized that there are stories that I want to tell.
Okay, so you mentioned that you got married. But I also know that marriage didn't sort of work out. You ended up, I don't know, you walking out of it or how, like you got divorced. So using this platform, I want you to share a bit about what it's like to be divorced in a society like this and how you can sort of make that decision. Because I'm sure it's not easy, right? No. So what are your 2 cents on that?
I have like 4 cents on it.
Okay, however many cents. They're all welcome here.
So I think that's a very important topic as far as I'm concerned. Because first of all, I really want to start off by saying that I think marriage is a wonderful institution. No part of me thinks that people shouldn't get married. I feel like it's a lovely institution. It has lasted the test of time. Really, it has, you know. Second of all, nobody gets married with the intention of it not working out. I haven't met anyone who, you know, says on the day that they're getting married, I'll see if this works out, right? So if it not working out is always a heartbreaking experience because you've committed to something wholeheartedly.
Yes, that's
right?
True.
And thirdly, very important thing that I like to mention is that a marriage not working out is this, I think, like I wish I could, ये मैं ना सबके दिमाग में किसी तरह पूरी डाल दूँ, is not a reflection of how good or bad a person you are or that person is. Sometimes with the best of intentions, 2 people who are good human beings don't work out.
Yeah.
And literally, I just want the whole society to take a deep breath and take that in. It's okay. It can happen. I say this to a lot of people, like, आपके बहन भाई होते हैं. You're brought up with them. You love them. Literally, आपको ज़रा 2 दिन उनके साथ bedroom share करना पड़े ना, तीसरे दिन you're like, listen, I think I've had it with you. You get out. Right? So it's not an easy thing to manage, making a relationship work. And I like to think that people do try their best before they decide that it's not working out, especially women. I do feel like that because I'm not going to pin it to biology, evolution, anything. I don't want somebody to come up and say, nahi, isko justify kare. But in my observation, I will say I've seen girls and women go out of their way before they decide that it's not working out for whatever reason. Now I come to the second part where you decide that it's not working out. And I feel like, again, I feel sad and sorry because I get so many, I used to and still do sometimes, but so many messages from girls who are stuck in what I would say unhappy marriages.
Okay.
I'm not going to take it to the extreme of abusive marriages or where there's a big deal breaker. I'm talking about two people, me and you, sitting here in an interview can decide by the end of this interview that this interview wasn't fun. For example, that doesn't have to say anything about you or me.
Yeah.
We just didn't jam well.
Yeah.
नहीं हुआ.
मतलब हर सिचुएशन में कोई विलन नहीं होता.
That's the point. हमारा यही ड्रामों पे वापस आते हुए पॉइंट क्या है कि हमें इतनी आदत हो गई है कि हमने डिसाइड करना है कि गलती किसकी थी.
हाँ, हर चीज को ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट
हमें बताओ एंड में who was good and who was bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, you were both good or you were both not good. Whatever it was, it not working out has nothing to do with you being good or bad. Right? Anyway, so but when you're stuck in that situation, where you're unhappy, let's just say, and you've tried everything that you know possibly. You know, there's also that. People are like, नहीं तो आपने ये क्यों नहीं ट्राई किया? भाई हर बंदा उन्हीं टूल्स से खेलता है जो उसके सामने मौजूद होते हैं in life. And once you've tried everything, I think instinctively people do know when they've tried everything. You know what I mean?
Or if they even want to try anymore, right?
हाँ, और relationship exhaustion में ना, it's very weird. It's a voice in your head. Like you can't go to a doctor who'll diagnose it for you कि अब आप दोनों थक चुके हैं इस शादी में और ये नहीं workout करी. It's that, how do I put it? Because I see girls go through it. It's that everyday exhaustion that you wear on your shoulders. And you drag yourself with it every day. And you have that occasional breakdown. And you call up a friend and you say that I can't do this. And the next morning you wake up and you say, I will do this. And again, I'm saying, I'm not talking about regular marriages where होता है एक दिन आप कहते हैं मैं तुम्हें छोड़ के जा रही हूँ. I'm not talking about that. Yeah. I'm talking about chronic cases where it seeps into your soul slowly, like a slow drip, you know. So I see a lot of women not being able to make that decision of when to walk away. Because it's almost like doomed if you do, doomed if you don't sort of a deal for them. Because they don't know कि भाई आगे क्या होगा. सबसे पहले तो हर बंदा आपको क्वेश्चनर लेके आ जाएगा कि अपनी वजूहात हमें बताएं ताकि हम ये डिसाइड करें कि आप एक अच्छी लड़की है या आप एक अच्छी लड़की नहीं है. ठीक है. अगर इस पूरे क्वेश्चनर के बाद हमें ये लगा कि आप सैक्रिफिशियल नहीं हैं और आपने अपनी ज़ात को ज़ीरो से मल्टीप्लाई करने की पूरी कोशिश नहीं की थी तो आप बिल्कुल अच्छी लड़की नहीं है. यू नो. सो
और जब तक आप वो नहीं करेंगी तब तक आप ये ख़त्म नहीं.
आप पहले सारे सवालों के जवाब दें, सारे के सारे. ठीक है. And so you're already walking out of a relationship, you're heartbroken, you're afraid, you're being asked all these questions, you're uncertain about the future, you don't know. But for a lot of women, if God forbid, like if there's a child involved, it's a very difficult decision. And society doesn't make it easy.
Okay.
You know, they make it 100 times harder.
Why would you say that?
Why would I say that? Because, like I said, first of all come the questions.
Yeah.
Questions ke baad comes the judgment.
Yeah.
If it's not vocal, then it's silent. And वो इतने सालों से चल रही है ना कि nobody has to say anything to you.
Yeah, true.
I see it in such subtle forms around me every day. Like not with me, like with so many people. That it's like, I mean, it's almost like this real sadistic game we like to play.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
You know, it's almost like, you know, आजकल बड़ा popular है ये word, like people say privilege. I'd say that people genuinely believe that being married is the biggest privilege in this country.
Okay.
So जो ही उनका
especially for women, yeah.
हाँ, तो जो ही उनको होता है ना कि हम haves हैं और ये have nots हैं. So it's like this, they must do something to you, you know?
Yeah. It's like making you feel like an absolute failure for not making this work out.
Right.
Yeah, because our society is obsessed with marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
And our one single definition of success for women is not a successful marriage, just a marriage. A marriage. Any sort. As long as you're in it, you're good.
That is so true because हमारे जो बड़े बूढ़े हैं ना वो ये कहते हैं देखो हमने इतने साल अपनी शादी चला ली and they're so proud of it and a lot of these people were not in happy marriages but they consider it the fact कि वो बड़े बूढ़े हो गए and they died with they're dying and growing old with their partners. For them that is success because चला ली चाहे वो जितनी भी बुरी थी शायद.
बिल्कुल. और like I said, I'm talking of examples where I've seen people develop serious chronic illnesses. Anxieties, depressions, being on medications, some of them with really unhealthy habits. All of that is a result of being in an unhealthy marriage. But as long as you have something to show for it, fit है. That's the
and also I think हमारी सोसाइटी में कुछ बहुत twisted concepts होते हैं कि stay together for the kids but is that even good for the kids?
No, it's
that
not.
is the biggest question, right? Like ये क्या बिल्कुल ही उल्टी बात है ये तो.
I mean, you have a child and I have read up enough on it to know that a child thrives in a safe, happy environment. A child is not neurologically trained to understand कि आप दोनों का marital relationship क्या चल रहा है. उसको सिर्फ ये नज़र आता है कि ये मेरे केयर गिवर्स है और ये खुश नहीं है या ये लड़ रहे हैं और ये जिस environment में हूँ मैं ये safe feel नहीं कर रहा हूँ.
हाँ मैं safe भी नहीं feel कर रहा हूँ and also I've heard that children tend to because they think that their parents are perfect. All kids tend to think that parents are perfect.
They're their first heroes.
Yes. So they feel that if things are going wrong, it must be my fault.
My fault?
Yeah.
There are 100,000 issues they develop.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure you have a child. Because I've been one, so I can tell you, like, आपको अगर अपने parents के कमरे से कोई ऊंची आवाज आ जाए ना of them talking to each other, as a child that can throw you off balance.
Yes.
You can
it can like, traumatize you.
कि क्या हो रहा है ये?
Extremely.
Yeah.
Yes.
You go into a survival mode very early on in life, which is very unhealthy for you.
Yeah.
So anyway, बच्चों के लिए रुक जाओ, इसके लिए रुक जाओ, उसके लिए रुक जाओ, ये तो this pressure stays. And one thing I'd really like to say here again is that I'm not saying that women are the sufferers in this or men are the sufferers in this or whatever.
Okay.
I'd also like to say that so many times I feel like if our society was to be a little open, it serves both of them well to leave each other. It's not a favor one person is doing themselves. Sometimes it's literally, most of the times, if you're honest about it, it's a favor two human beings are doing to each other.
Yeah.
For letting them find someone or create space for them for a healthier life.
Yeah. Because even if one person is unhappy in a marriage, it's not a happy marriage.
Both don't have to be unhappy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like how can you be happy if your partner is so unhappy? Like, yeah.
And if you see in the West now, there are so many examples of people amicably parting ways.
Yeah.
But हमारे यहाँ, it's like such a thing, like you can't even talk to your partner and say, I'm not happy in this. Because वो भी है, ego का मसला भी है. Like, sorry, I'm taking a detour, but उसमें क्या है? What does a woman need to be happy? Now that's a very fun thing that our society has decided, right?
Okay.
आपके पास अच्छा घर है. He doesn't beat you up. He doesn't abuse. bare minimums पे तो हम बहुत चलते हैं ना. मगर उसके टॉप पे चलो, वो तुम्हें पहनने देता है जो तुम पहनना चाहते हो, और वो तुम्हें कोई रोक टोक नहीं करता ज़्यादा. What is your problem?
हाँ, इससे अच्छा तो तुम्हें मिल ही नहीं सकता.
क्या
वो
मतलब
तो कुछ भी नहीं कहता.
क्या चाहिए बेटा, इससे ज़्यादा तुम्हें चाहिए क्या? If you have an answer as simple as that we're not headed in the same direction in life. We have a different value system.
Yeah, we don't have the same vision
of life.
Yeah.
For example, I'm going this way, this person's going that way. I don't see us aligning well in the future. It's like नहीं ये तो कोई वजह नहीं.
हाँ, क्योंकि आपका तो काम है कि आप फिर अपने आप को अलाइन करो ना. वो तो नहीं करेगा.
वो जहाँ जा रहे हो आप पीछे जा रहे हो.
Yeah, जबकि it's a very fundamental thing to be on the same page. Yes.
It's very important to see eye to eye on the big things in life.
Yes.
Small things, no worries.
Yeah, you don't have the same taste in music.
Music नहीं पसंद आ रहा, आपको मेरा वो दोस्त नहीं पसंद. That these things don't matter.
Yeah.
But मैं उस दिन किसी को example दी थी कि imagine करो that like your fundamental for example, your religious views are like this, opposed. Now, in a marriage, when you have a child, how do you bridge that gap? Will you be able to bridge that gap? You have that conversation and you realize, no, we won't. I'm just literally hypothetically quoting. Is it not better then to not have a child and be like, listen, I think we've grown apart as people. We're not sort of aligned anymore. And you try your best to align with each other. You educate the person, you talk to them, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't work out. And I think, again, a lot of things make a difference. Family support makes a difference.
Yeah.
Your self-esteem makes a huge difference. Unfortunately for women, before they leave a marriage, उन बेचारों की self-esteem कुछ already hit हो चुकी होती है to a certain extent.
Yeah. Because अगर आपके दिमाग में ये idea है that if you fail at a marriage, you failed at life, then
you
of
failed
course,
at life.
फिर आप कहोगे कि आपकी self-esteem तो बिल्कुल damage हो जाएगी ना. You have zero confidence then.
Yeah. So you have to work on a lot of things.
Yeah. So in your personal capacity, how do you think this walking out of this marriage impacted you, and how did you deal with that?
I would still think fairly young when it happened.
Did you feel the same kind of pressures?
I think I was, again, like I said, I was lucky because my parents never put that pressure on me.
Yeah.
Because when that noise is coming from your home, it's too much.
Yes. And that happens to a lot of people.
And that's why, by the way, I don't even judge people who are like, we're staying in the marriage because we know our parents will give us hell after this. So it's like choosing from between two hells for them. For me, I'll be honest, there are things that helped me. And I always say this to women. One, if you're financially independent, if you have work that inspires you, if you have a sense of purpose in life, bigger than your personal relationships, that will carry you through. There will be heartache, there will be noise, but the great thing about the world is they forget very quickly if you don't let them bother you. Unko gossip chahiye, so your thing will become purana too quickly, and then they'll be like, who's next, But during that time when you're that piece that they're obsessing with, अगर आपके पास अच्छे लोग हैं, कुछ अच्छा काम है करने को, and honestly, like if you have like some sort of faith and some belief in that there's a power up above that understands you and understands your intention and your motivation, then you'll get through.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And it's always easier said than done. Like I'm sitting here saying all these fancy things. It'll hurt you. You'll fall. You'll break. But you'll get out of it.
Yeah, because they say like it's always it's an up and down.
Yeah.
You can't always be like because I have a support system or I am financially independent. So all the things doesn't mean it's going to be still like this. It's still going to be like, because like you said, nobody gets into a marriage with the thought that it's not going to work out.
Right. And also
so that heartbreak is there.
And also I feel like there's too much pressure on people now कि अच्छा, okay, this didn't work, move on. I genuinely think that if you want to take 6 months to grieve, do it.
Yeah.
It means nothing in the larger scheme of things.
Yeah.
मतलब छोटी सी चीज़ है, you built this office, right? Tomorrow you decide to wrap it up for whatever reason. It is going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And you will take 7-8 days, 10 days, 20 days, 30.
No matter how rational the decision was. Because लोग ये भी करते हैं ना कि अच्छा तुमने अब decide किया तो तुम रो क्यों रही हो अब? Like just because like I knew that this is the rational thing to do doesn't mean that I didn't have my emotions involved, right?
And like वही चीज़ आप किसी भी और situation में apply कर लो.
Yeah.
Like today you decide that it's the rational thing for me to do to move to the States.
Yeah.
Now the first month that you're there, you're crying, you're missing your mom, you're missing your family, you're missing this. Somebody can easily walk up to you and be like, you took this decision, why are you crying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, I'm processing what I decided was good for me, but doing something that's good for you.
Oh yeah, it's usually very hard.
Easy.
Yes, it's mostly the tougher thing to do.
Right. See,
yeah.
So people think just because you've made a decision, the next day they'll see you, you'll be like this happy chirp.
Yes, true.
People take time to adjust to things.
Yeah.
And I think people should take that time. I've realized that
It's important. It's part of the healing process. Yeah. Right. So based on everything that you've shared with me based on your own experiences, what are your thoughts about marriage today, especially for the modern woman? What are your thoughts?
I feel that, like I said, I started off by saying that I'm a huge believer in the institution of marriage.
Yeah,
so
you said that, huh?
I say that because people think that just because somebody's marriage didn't work out, maybe they're jaded now.
Yeah,
you know?
And they have something against marriage.
हाँ, मतलब वो वाली लड़कियाँ होंगी like हमें तो नहीं करनी type सी.
हाँ, मतलब वो I get it कि जो married लड़कियाँ होती हैं, ew.
I don't want to do it, but no, that's not me. My thoughts about marriage are that I feel it's a very I'd say the word actually. I think it's a very sacred institution.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we've turned it into a national sport.
Okay.
Honestly. इतना हम शौक से क्रिकेट नहीं देखते हैं, हॉकी नहीं देखते हैं, वर्ल्ड कप फुटबॉल नहीं देख रहे होंगे जितने शौक से हम लोगों की शादियों की तस्वीरें देखते हैं, जितनी बारीकी से हम उनकी शादी पे कमेंट करते हैं. एंड द अमाउंट ऑफ इंटरफेरेंस दैट आई फील वी हैव ऑन अ डेली बेसिस ऑन अदर पीपल्स मैरिजेस, उसके टॉप पर आई फील we have still not evolved to a point where we can understand or respect the fact that there are people who don't find somebody at the age that society has decided.
Yeah.
It's okay if you're getting married at 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. That's where we need to understand that we as a race, as a species, have evolved to a point where things such as, like I said, कि घर होगा, and again it's different for everyone. I'm not judging. There are people जिनको शायद वाकई में घर की security की protection की इतनी ज़रूरत होती है that it's enough for them. I'm not judging them at all. I'm saying we also have to make space for people जिनके लिए वो enough नहीं है. And that's where women who make their own money come in. And that's a sizable population of our society today.
Yeah.
They are not looking for somebody to take care of them financially. They are not looking for financial protection as they were, say, 100 years ago, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So their parameters have shifted. Now, you can call them whatever you want to call them. Doesn't change the fact that that's where your society stands today. And for the better.
Yeah.
And like you said, on marriage, the two things that I really want to say is, one, that being married or not being married should not, in an ideal world, it should not have an impact on the amount of respect you lend to an individual.
Yes. And it's no metric of success either.
It's no metric of success. It's literally like मैं उस दिन हंस रही थी कि there's a reason it's called your personal life. And that reason is that it has nothing to do with anyone else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I literally feel like मैं आपको एक छोटी सी एग्जांपल देती हूँ. आप नादरा का फॉर्म देखते हैं ना, तो उस पर लिखा हुआ आता है, आर यू मैरिड, सिंगल, शादीशुदा और तलाक याफ्ता. So I was just thinking कि what's the difference between being single and being divorced?
Yeah.
It's a very simple thing, but I was just thinking. So if somebody asks a divorced person, are you single or are you divorced? You're like,
the meaning is the same.
For all you know, I am single.
Yeah. Why does it matter? Yeah, it's none of your business.
What is it to you? Right?
Yes.
So that, and these are just little things I'm telling you, that we're obsessed with the institution of marriage. We're ruining people's mental health.
Yeah.
We're ruining families.
Yeah.
जिन बेचारे वालदैन को ये प्रेशर आता है that your children are not married, they're going through so much in life, because उनके साथ और भी ज़्यादा बुरा होता है हम ना, because they've lived 50-60 years and they've built lives and they feel like they've done well. But then they're also told you're a failure.
Yeah, true. One of my friends, she was unhappy in her marriage, and she said to me, my parents, they are not going to, abandon me or say anything to me, but I know that this is going to hurt them. So a lot of women don't even make that decision because they will, what will the society say to the parents? And even if the parents, are welcome their daughters back with open arms and support them in every which way possible, but
they get the brunt of it also, right?
Yeah.
And the second thing is that I still feel, and this might be an unpopular opinion, a lot of this, the perpetrators of this idea are also women.
Okay.
I'm not just talking about older women. I'm talking about younger women. I've seen really emancipated liberal girls, and no fault of theirs maybe. उनकी conditioning
है बिल्कुल.
भाई एक दिन वो specimen A चल रही थी, एक दिन शादी हुई वो specimen B बन गई. And suddenly they have that chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
They're me and my friend were laughing the other day. I was like, literally, it's a I made it moment for so many people. Even now, it's like, I did it.
Yes.
Like losers.
Yeah.
So I feel like that hopefully we should be able to change slowly, because it's a very unkind thing we do.
Yeah.
It's an unkind thing to do. It's not, it's literally like हम बोलते हैं ना कि किसी हमारे यहाँ लोगों को बड़ा शौक ऐसी बातें करने के गरीब लोगों के सामने अपने पैसे ना फ्लॉन्ट करो, किसी का पेरेंट्स नहीं है उनके सामने अपने पेरेंट्स. It's literally like that. It's like मुझे नहीं फील हो रहा कि मेरे पास ये चीज़ नहीं है, आप आके मुझे रोज़ एक चीज़ दिखा के बोल रहे हैं कि आपने सोचा है कभी कि आप डिप्राइव्ड है.
Yeah, I get it.
I think it's an unkind thing. We should really reflect on what we are doing to people in our own way of like showing off or whatever. Some, like you said, something that's not, uska purpose ye nahi hai.
Bilkul. Yeah. Very, very insightful for a lot of people. So thank you for these thoughts on marriage.
Yeah.
Very well put together as well, I would say. So let's go back to your sort of professional life, personal se hatke. So you got into filmmaking, but you've also been, a content creator on social media. But you mentioned that is something that you haven't been doing very actively.
Yes.
Why do you think so? What are some of the reasons for that?
I think in my own journey, I learned, and I'll give credit to some content creators out there also who've helped me become okay with this also. I feel like आपकी लाइफ में ना phases आते हैं.
बिल्कुल.
एक phase आता है जहाँ पे आपके पास कहने को कुछ बहुत strongly होता है और आपकी voice बहुत clear होती है in your head.
I feel like I'm about to relate on this very hard. Okay.
And you feel like, oh, I have so much to say. And this is what I want to say. And this is why I want to say it. And then आपकी vessel कभी कभार life में थोड़ी empty हो जाती है.
बिल्कुल.
You've said what you wanted to say. You've explored a lot of things. And then suddenly...
And sometimes you stop feeling like that person as well, right?
And
yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because letting go of who you were is a lot harder than letting go of anything else.
Yeah.
So when I was doing, up until like a year and a half back, like some fashion blogging actively or brand content actively, I was hugely invested in it.
Yeah.
फिर अब मैं कोशिश करती रही हूँ diagnose करने के लिए कि ये क्यों हो रहा है. Like somebody would say, will you do this fashion shoot for us? And I'm like, नहीं, मेरा बिल्कुल दिल नहीं कर रहा. I'm pushing myself. Even when I'm sharing it, I can tell कि इसमें वो खत्म हो गया है. Like, like that force, that punch that I had in me, it's gone.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was. And in the past 6 months, I've given myself that space, finally. Where I'm like, here's the thing. I've changed as a person. I've evolved as a person. I don't know if you've had those moments. I think content creators के साथ सबसे funny होता है that records of who you were are available.
Yeah, you're just like, why can't I find this again? Like, this
why can't I be this person
again? Yeah. Oh my God, I can relate so much.
And then when you finally accept that I'm not this person, like there have been days when I'm like, मैं अपना Insta delete करने लगी हूँ. I'm going to start a new one. I'm a new person now. And then I was like, नहीं, maybe now that's where I am. It's okay. I was this person. I am now becoming someone else. I don't know who I'm becoming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like people are like, नहीं तो फिर तुम अब क्या करोगे content wise? I'm like, it's coming to me. I don't know when it will come.
And you can't push it.
I can't push it. The more I panic, the longer it will take.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be absolutely bored and numb for it to come to you in the most natural way. Because the more you're going to try to find this and that, what you're inherently doing is that voice that is trying to come out, with every step that you're taking, you're pushing it back down. You don't need to do anything because that's the only way it will come. And that's why I said I can relate hard because this happened to me because a few incidents happened in my life one after the other. In 2020 and in 2021, I had my baby. And when you become a mother, you it's like a nuclear bomb goes off in your entire being. And you know what a nuclear bomb is? Everything is gone.
Bilkul.
So everything that I had become up until this moment, it was gone. And that's what they say, postpartum is where you grieve your old life because you are no longer the person that you used to be. You grieve your old self. And of course, it's going to take some time for a completely new person to come. And that reflects in my work because my entire work was my identity. Right. And if I've lost my identity, then how am I supposed to do this work? Like, if I'm lost here, then how can I...
If your sense of identity is gone, your work is gone.
Yeah. And then I realize obviously it's taken its time for me to realize that is part of this process and I have to go through it and I have to, like, while I discover who the new person I am now, I'm going to have to wait it out.
Yeah. And you're absolutely spot on because I think content creators ke saath it's a competitive world out there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even like part of like that league of content creators like right at the top, but still like एक प्रेशर होता है कि आपने इस हफ्ते कोई पोस्ट नहीं लगाई क्या हो गया आपको आप किधर हैं and you're like
because it's your work right then
yes it is your work and it's so funny like अगर आप कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में काम करते हैं डॉक्टर एंड टीचर अगर आप महीने की छुट्टी लेना तो लोग कहते हैं हाँ वो छुट्टी पे गया है हमारा प्रॉब्लम है अगर हम छुट्टी ले तो सबको पता चलता है कि हम छुट्टी पे गए हैं एंड देन दे ऑल ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड कि क्यों छुट्टी पे
Yeah, it's so true.
So your chutti is also, like you're so anxious to it because you're like, can I just like take a break?
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. And then I started looking at other people who've done the same things. I think one of them was your post also. Those journals you used to do, I have one of them. When you shut that off, like you did a post on it.
Yeah.
I know a couple of friends who started businesses and they shut them off. And recent example, I was just watching the Roger Federer retirement ceremony. And I was like, imagine this. You give your whole life to a sport.
Yeah.
And then the day comes and you say, I'm done. I'm walking away.
Yeah.
And I was like, if he can do it, he cried. By the way, going back to that, people should be like, khud hi retire ho rahe ho
This is the same emotional, rational.
Kyun ro kyun raha hai? But if people can do, and then I realized it's perfectly okay. It doesn't matter if you're a content creator, a tennis player, a married woman, anything. It can, one day you just have to be like, acha, listen, ye main thoda sochna ke liye, I need time off.
Yeah.
And that should be normalized, 100%.
Yeah. Also because a lot of times people consider, just as like you talked about me shutting down my business, a lot of people think that those are failures. For me, it wasn't. It was a very rational decision. Again, very emotional one, but a rational one where I knew that this thing was no longer serving me in the ways that I needed it to. It was a personal decision. It was not a professional decision because if someone was to ask me, did the business fail? It didn't. It was extremely profitable. It was doing very well. But it was holding me back from a lot of other things.
Right.
And then and I think my failure would be that I wasn't able to find the people to hold it together or scale it because I needed that space. But so that would be a failure. But the business itself was working as long as I gave it my 100%.
Right.
And I was no longer in the right space to do that. I
Right.
needed space for myself. If I need me for me, then how can I give my 100% to that?
Yeah.
So the only thing it did was it held me back from, everything else that I needed myself for.
I think it comes down to the same thing, that our metrics for success
Yeah.
are so flawed.
Yeah.
Like वो इतने बेसिक अभी तक हम चल रहे हैं कि अगर आपका बिजनेस शट डाउन हो गया, फेल.
Yeah.
अगर वो चल रहा है तो गुड.
For me personally, it was one of the bravest decisions that I've taken in my life. And I think that it has grown me in several ways. And the learnings that I've had from starting it to even wrapping it are very, very essential to my whole being at the moment.
Right.
And was part of the process of, where I am changing or growing into this other person. This was an essential part where it had to be closed off. They say that one of the growth जो आपकी है वो सबसे ज़्यादा letting go से आती है, where you let go of things that
हाँ, वही मैं
need to
कहने
be let
लगी थी
go
कि
of.
it's literally like people don't realize it कि it's excess baggage that you're carrying.
Yes.
You have to lighten the burden
Yes.
to move forward.
Otherwise you won't move forward. आप फिर रुके रह जाओगे उसकी
बिल्कुल.
वजह से.
And linear नहीं है life.
बिल्कुल.
I'm not going to come here and say एक दिन मैंने ये बिजनेस किया, अगले साल मैं इस प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी पे गई, उसके अगले साल मैंने ये किया, 10 साल बाद आज मैं एक बहुत बड़ी बिजनेस टाइकून हूँ. Life is a bit like that, right? And I feel like that's very brave of. I feel like anyone who makes that decision of letting go of something which looks very good to the eye,
Yes. And to the society and its
and it's
metric of
hard to
success.
explain,
Yes.
and they do it for themselves, I think honestly those are the bravest decisions.
Yes. It's because you know people are judging, because people are asking for explanations and you can't explain it to them, but you know that you needed to do
हाँ, I think
this.
because those are the moments जब आप 100% अपनी conviction पे rely करना सीख लेते हैं.
Yeah.
And you have to finally be okay with the fact कि यार नहीं समझ आएगी सबको.
Yeah,
नहीं आएगी.
and लोग क्या कहेंगे doesn't actually affect you.
No.
You're beyond that. You're
Actually वो
past
बड़ा
that.
funny होता है. लोग क्या कहें से आप एक स्टेप आगे चले जाते हैं because you realize कि लोग तो कुछ ना कुछ कहते ही रहेंगे. मैं चलाऊं ना चलाऊं, मैं ये करूं मैं वो करूं, इन्होंने कुछ कहना है. So you finally just learn कि ये एक background noise है, it's going to stay. I have to do what I have to do.
Yes, and that is the bravest thing.
Yes,
You're
very
right.
brave.
Yeah. So back to your content creator thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of what I would say, like I think I'm in the process of evolving, and I'm trying to find that voice again. I know that it's going to come. I don't know what it's going to be. I just didn't want. I made 7 short films in a period of 3 years, right? During COVID, there was a year I made 4 films in the same year. And like you said, there's this moment like where like I was like, people are like, oh, so when are you making more short films? And I was like, I don't know. मैं कोविड में मास्क पहन के ऐनक पहन के वो करके I had that conviction. I've lost that conviction.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's no declaration of defeat where I'm saying white flag, I've given up on life. No, I'm saying I'm refilling my own vessel. I'm trying to read these days. I'm trying to take up new sports, meet new people, explore new things. Once my vessel is full, the voice will come back.
Yeah. And we can think these are things that the world needs from you, but right now you need yourself.
Yes.
And you need to find yourself.
Yes.
And that doesn't come, like you can't hear your own voice if there's too much noise.
Yes.
And you can't hear it.
And it's not a one-time process, by the way. Like a lot of people I've seen, they're like, bas ab matlab find yourself kab tak hoga? It's an ongoing process.
Yes, ongoing.
Like you had a child. I'm just saying, imagine tomorrow you have another one, right?
Yes.
And I'll meet you, say 5-10 years from now, and you'll be like, कि वो तो कुछ भी नहीं था, nuclear bomb ये तो. But you know, you never know.
Yeah.
You don't know what's gonna hit you and how and when.
Yeah.
So I think at every stage, if you take some time to redefine, realign, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah. लोग वो तर्स भी खाते हैं ना कि पहले तो बड़ा अच्छा था, अब इसका तो डाउनफॉल आ गया. कि क्या बात है यार, जर्नी है. किसी की भी जर्नी यूं नहीं होती. वो अपने पीक पे जाके उसकी मौत नहीं हो जाती कि you know, like it's.
अच्छा और वो उसका पता है क्या हम ना अगेन लाइक हमारी सोसाइटी में इतनी डुप्लिसिटी है ना. मिसाल के तौर पे आप मेरे से सवाल पूछ रहे हो, मैं इसको सारे को टर्न अराउंड कर सकती हूँ नैरेटिव को इसी वक्त, एंड आई कैन मेक इट लुक लाइक स्पॉटलेस चल रहा है सब कुछ, यू नो. आई कैन फेक इट, you know.
Yeah, you can.
So I think a lot of people that get carried away by stories of linear upward graphs don't realize कि वो सच्ची कहानी नहीं होती या पूरी कहानी नहीं होती.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so we talked about content creation. I would like to hear some of your thoughts on social media in general and your lessons.
If you asked me this question a year and a half back, 2 years back, my answer would be completely different from what it is today. I've learned so much through social media. I think one of my top lessons, we were talking about this earlier as well. I feel like I'm on the fence about social media as of now.
Yeah, of course, you're in that space.
Yes.
And
why am I on the fence about it is because I feel like it takes a lot of self-discipline, self-awareness, and a very strong sense of identity for it not to bother you too much. When you start very young, and you started much younger than me, I realized one thing about social media. आप realize करें ना realize करें, you get used to the constant admiration that you get. Right?
Yeah.
You don't realize it. You realize it the day you don't get it. Or the day one day it flips on its head.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a second. Till yesterday, I was the sweetest, nicest, kindest, smartest, prettiest person alive.
Yeah.
Today in the morning, I find out I'm a monster.
Yeah.
And so if you've gotten used to the admiration, that pushback will bring you down very badly.
Yeah.
And it'll take you a while to sort of find your balance again.
Yeah.
So what I realized about social media is that you have to distance yourself from the admiration just as much as you want to distance yourself from the other noise.
Yes, I learned that you can't take the appreciation too seriously.
No, you cannot. And
as much as you say, you don't take the negative comments seriously, you have to do the same for the positive comments. Do not take it seriously.
Please understand that, like, when they're saying that, like, they'll... And I'll say this as an audience. Forget the fact that I'm a content creator. If I go to Deepika Padukone's photo and I say, love you, I hope to God she's not taking that seriously, because I don't really love her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm saying, let me put myself in the audience's shoe. I feel like it's very hard to unlearn the fact कि जो लोग कह रहे हैं ना, अच्छा भी अगर कह रहे हैं, उसको seriously नहीं लेना.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the only way आप उनकी बुरी बात को भी seriously नहीं लेना.
Yeah, true.
Number 2, the thing I learned about social media is that as long as your conviction for what you're saying is missing, what people say will matter to you, and a lot.
Okay.
So you have to constantly check yourself as to मैं ये क्यों कर रहा हूँ. मुझे सिर्फ likes चाहिए, मुझे सिर्फ adoration और fan base चाहिए, या मैं do I genuinely have a bigger conviction in mind?
Yeah.
Do I think I'm making some difference in the world?
Yeah.
And as long as your conviction is strong, वो फिर आपको कम bother करेगा.
Yeah.
I feel like the times I've gotten the most affected by what was said on social media were the times that my conviction was lacking.
Yeah.
Or my self-identity weakened, right? So that's number 2. And for women, especially, I feel that बहुत लोग बातें करते हैं ना कि you should be vulnerable on social media.
Just like...
I've made those mistakes, right? Because I was a film writer. तो मेरे लिए वो लाइन बड़ी थिन हो गई कि ये सोशल मीडिया है और ये फिल्म है. फिल्म में तो आप you unrest the character, you make it raw.
Yeah, but it's a character.
It's a character. But on social media, I was the character. Yeah. So I was like, ठीक है, we say it as it is. And then I learned that unfortunately, a woman who has the audacity, which I still say is courageous, by the way, I'm not going to say it's a cowardly act to share your vulnerability with someone. But if you do that, and you do it in a world that is still, which will pounce at your vulnerability. Now, 2 years later, you ask me, I tell all girls or people, women mostly, not men, that don't share your vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yes, especially because while you get a lot of praise and a lot, there's tons of people who are waiting for that moment. For your moment of weakness, your moment of rawness to...
Listen, it's
attack you.
A very sadistic pleasure that people get when they see a woman climb up to a certain point and then hurt.
Yeah.
It's, you have no idea the amount of joy
some people
you can generate for some people by showing them that you're hurting. You know what I mean?
That is so sad.
It is sad, but...
and you know, you before it happens to you, you can't imagine that. Because, you know, I'm not saying I'm some kind of saint, but it never, like, I never felt like that for anyone.
Yeah, but...
Which is why you don't think that people think like that as well, but they do.
And I think... what you're saying, that's the one thing I learned the very hard way, that I was projecting a lot of myself onto other people. Thinking, okay, look, if somebody cries in front of me, what would be my reaction? My reaction would be like, I'd empathize. And I was like, wait a second, welcome to the world. And like you said, I have my flaws, I'm a human, everyone does. But this was something that I wasn't raised to enjoy, in terms of even subconsciously, where someone else was hurting and I'd sit back and be like, ha, see?
Yeah.
Ab maza aa raha hai tumhe, bachchu. Like, I wasn't...
yeah.
But I realized
people.
The world is like that. And especially for women.
And especially for successful people.
Successful people.
Unki dekh ke logon ko khushi hoti hai na ki, oh, you know...
And I'll make it scarier for you, because I've realized that in life now, that for so many of us, let me tell you, there's a huge, and I'm not coming from a jaded place at all. I'm just coming from a very realistic place, that there are so many people who are waiting for you to fall. You would be surprised. God forbid, you have to fall for you to know कि वो audience कितनी बड़ी थी.
Yeah, who was waiting कि downfall ही आएगा इसका.
हाँ वो जो applause होगा ना, you'll be like, guys, like, what?
Yeah.
But so I think you should be careful about what you share on social media.
Yeah.
And you should use it for a purpose that is bigger than adoration.
Yeah, and people on social media are so confused because they'll say, oh, too curated, too perfect, not vulnerable. Ye log raw nahi hote, vulnerable nahi hote. And the moment you're raw and vulnerable, it's just like, what is wrong with this? This person is crazy and nuts. Yeah.
और पता है मुझे ना आजकल this is a detour, but I was like thinking about it. There are so many big celebrities in the world who choose not to have any presence on social media. I've been thinking about that a lot, and I've been like, it can become so vile that unless it is something that you look at it should just be work for you.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in the public domain.
Yeah.
Private accounts, but you want to share your whatever, that's fine. I'm talking about people in the public domain. If you bear yourself as a human being on that platform, you're making yourself susceptible to a lot of hate. And just unnecessary, like literally unnecessary heartache.
Yeah, इसकी जो confusion वाली बात मेरी थी, उसकी एक example especially motherhood में बहुत होती है. If you show only the good or happy side of motherhood, you know, people attack you for that. Okay, you know, no, might not even attack you, but you actually end up making a lot of mothers feel like something is wrong with them because, you know, they don't love it as much or they don't find it as easy or whatever. But the moment you share more raw and vulnerable sides of it and aspects of it, then you are exposed to or how you are doing it or, you know, what are your challenges, you get a lot of mom shaming. A lot of questions on parenting, a lot of questions on motherhood, a lot of questions on sort of like, you need to be more grateful because at least you have a child. Or you need to be more grateful because, you know, you have this or you have that. And you're just like, wait, like, what? So when you're not happy, you are demanded of, being more grateful. And when you show that something, and your privilege of your privilege in your life.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, ye kya rona hai? You have this and you have that and you're privileged, you need to be more grateful. And the moment you show like you acknowledge that or both, people tend to dehumanize you for that as well.
Yeah. I think
or blame you for how that their lives feel like shit because yours is so perfect. So,
and I also feel like as an audience, for me, for everyone, what we need to remember is that, listen, there's nobody that you're going to see all sides of on social media.
Yes. Never.
ये इसमें कोई curation or artificiality की बात ही नहीं है.
बिल्कुल.
That's the way it should be also. You really want to know everything about me? Like, trust me, you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever you see has to be a snippet of their life.
Yes.
Some of them will share positive snippets. Some of them will share their harder moments.
And that is their prerogative.
Yes. And which is where your choice comes of deciding who do you want to follow.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
This is not their problem. This is your problem.
And very good friends of mine, very great people that I know. For example, if I feel their content's not resonating with me anymore, I'll literally mute them.
Yes,
if not even block them, like mute them, unfollow them. Mute kar diya. Like I said, they might be going through something that's not resonating with me right now. That's fine.
That's fine, right? Yeah.
अब एक लड़की बेचारी अब वो कह रही है मैं माँ बन के बहुत खुश हूँ, मैं बहुत फिट जा रहा है, वो भी गलत है. अगर वो रो रही है कि बहुत मुश्किल है, वो भी गलत है. And the truth is, it's all of it.
Yes, it's not black and white. It's gray.
All of it. It's great,
yes.
And it's awful.
Yes.
And it's hard and it's easy and it's wonderful and it's all of those
yes,
things.
And it's what they're choosing to share with people.
Yeah.
So for me, like, because it's so confusing, right? And because I started such a long time ago. And I always go back to, how I started or what it was when I started, because there weren't so many opinions about social media and influencers at that time. And, that was what I decide to do, what comes most natural to me. That's what I have decided. It doesn't matter what they want me to say or they expect me to, or how it even makes anyone feel, to be honest. It's more about, what I'm comfortable with sharing or not sharing. And I don't have to, and it's not my... Of course, it's important to be sensitive in a lot of areas. Of course, I'm not going to say that. But it's not... But how others feel because of their lives or what they're going through. I can't be responsible for everybody and how what I say or do makes them feel. There are some boundaries, of course, and I respect that. But at the end of the day, for me, because people can't decide what they want, I've left it to myself where what I feel comfortable with. There are days I feel very comfortable sharing this side of motherhood where it is very hard, and then there are days I feel because I feel I am this person. There are days I feel the joy and there are days I don't feel the joy, and I will share what I feel like sharing when I experience this. So that for me, it's not black and white. I'm not perpetually happy.
Nobody
nor am I perpetually
should be.
Depressed.
So there's a very it's one of my favorite sayings about social media, and I remind myself of it, and I think that just nails it on the head. It is that I am not who I think you I am not who you think I am. You are who you think I am.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Projecting always.
मैं तो नहीं decide कर सकती हूँ what like you said, like if you're having a bad day, if you think that way, you can't control all of it. You have to, like I said, if your own conviction, if it's strong enough, the noise just blurs on its own.
And it's like, if you are in a sensitive place as a viewer, as an audience, if you are in a sensitive place, you are going through something, then things that might not trigger you otherwise will trigger you. And that's not that person's fault who's
There's a very famous
there.
case on it, like if people want to look it up. When Beyonce shared her second pregnancy's news, it's a very famous blogger in the world, Leandra Medine, the owner of Man Repeller. Somebody as educated, exposed, she shared a post saying that your post announcing your pregnancy has triggered me. And because I've been trying to conceive a baby for a year and I failed. and it seems like you're rubbing it in my face. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. That was the crux of it. And literally a week later, she offered an apology saying that I don't know what, like you said, she said, I was going through something.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, it wasn't her.
Yeah.
It was me. I got triggered.
Yeah. Yeah. And the best thing to do is then, like you said, unfollow, mute. Because it's very important to realize where it's coming from you. It's not coming from from them.
Yeah. And also, I think it's very important for your own mental health to decide what is it that you're going to expose yourself to.
Yes. And that is something that's in your control, and you must absolutely take that in your control. Yes.
I don't follow everyone. Why not? Because I mean, for example, subconsciously मैं अगर किसी ऐसे बंदे को follow करना शुरू कर दूं who's all about, for example, like money and holidays and this and that and this, and I don't know the influence it's having on me on a subconscious level. So I have to be careful. If I'm watching somebody who's constantly reminding me of the things that I don't have, I have to be careful.
Yeah.
So I think audiences need to be very, very picky. We should be picky. As an audience, I'm saying, why should I not be picky? I should be picky, right?
Yeah.
And instead of going around saying, "Aap kyun ye mujhe dikha rahe hain?"
Yeah. Aap na dekhen. Yeah. Bachpan se you always had the choice of switching the channel.
Of course. The power is with you.
The power is with you.
The power is with you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Decide what you want to see. Decide what you want to hear. Filter the noise for yourself also.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And वही बात है कि if somebody is showing something that is putting out a successful life out there, and like, you know, traveling a lot and having a great time, has a lot of friends, and maybe some of those things you don't have in your life yet.
Sure.
So for a lot of people, these things serve as inspiration and goals. I know so many people who feel like, okay, you know, one day I'm going to live this life.
Yes.
And they feel inspired and they see how this person did it and they sort of, you know, work towards that.
Sure.
But the same thing could make someone else feel like, listen, 100%. I don't have this.
100%.
Yes. So,
and the same thing can be different for you on 2 different days of your life as well, right? Like one day I look at somebody on a holiday alone and I'll be like, I want to do this. Mm-hmm. Next day I could be having a bad day, look at it and feel like, oh, I've failed.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Lose motivation, right?
Yeah.
So you have to, that filtration of information and that control is with the audience, not with the content creator.
Yeah, I think this all comes down to being self-aware.
And responsible.
Yeah.
For your own self.
Yes, responsible for your own self, how you react, how you feel, and self-awareness on where you are in life.
Not going around asking other people to be responsible for your feelings.
Yes. Exactly.
Like, please, Hamna, why don't you post content that makes me feel good?
Me feel good.
Like, take responsibility for my feelings.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
It's
true.
Unfair.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I have one more question. So I think you recently moved out of the country, right? You moved to Turkey. So, why did you do that? And also, how is it like to be living abroad on your own as a single woman? Can you share some?
Yes. So, like I said, in that journey of life, when you're trying to explore who you are, I've always been fascinated by the idea of sort of moving to a new place. And I feel that somehow, like I said, like a part of my identity reevaluation was that I wanted to be in a space where I didn't have any preconceived notions. People didn't know me. People didn't expect anything of me. I had to reintroduce myself to, say, everyone. I wanted to see what that would be like, right? And Turkey was just a safer option for me because close by, some cultural similarities, moving there was easier. It has been one of the toughest things that I've ever done in my whole life. Because, again, looks really romantic or looks really exciting, glamorous, that, move to another country, living by yourself. Again, social media pe aap apne happy moments zyada dikhayenge. But it's a very unnerving experience because we don't realize the amount of comfort and privilege we have back in Pakistan also. Starting from setting up a house, like मैं सबको कहती हूँ, हमें इतनी आदत है, like if the bathroom sink is clogged, we just know that we have to call like a male member of the house and be like, excuse me, bhai, ये कुछ हो गया, इसको करे ना. No matter how independent you are.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize your own privilege. You're like, I always quote this example कि मैं नई गई थी टर्की, तो ना एक दिन रात को चूहा आ गया घर में. And I was like, यार चूहा भी मैंने किसको बुलाऊं? Excuse me, like I was offended. I was like, what do you mean? And like I was like, क्या करूं अब मैं इस वक्त? Like literally I was, and it sounds so small and so bizarre, but that's where you're again redefining your identity comes in. And you eventually learn कि कितनी चीज़ों के लिए मैं अभी भी औरों पे वाकई में dependent हूँ. And the kind of liberation, sure, there are tears involved, there is cursing yourself involved, there's like everything involved. But at the end of the day, when you overcome these tiny challenges, I truly think it's like a process of becoming very close to being invincible in a weird way. Because, again, एक चूहे वाली example मेरी favorite है, because that day, so I literally realized कि मैं चूहा नहीं मार सकती. Because I don't have the heart to hit a living thing on its head.
Yeah.
I had to chase the chooha back into the fireplace where it came out of, and then tape the fireplace.
And close it.
You know? But that gave me like literally, for 3 months I didn't move that tape and paper, and everybody said, this looks so ugly, isko hatao. I'm like, no, this is a reminder of this obstacle I overcame. And this one night I remember I was coming home from somewhere, and it was quite late in the night, and I'd forgotten the key inside the house and locked it. And that's when I realized कि ये पाकिस्तान में नहीं हो सकता. Why? घर में कोई ना कोई तो होगा. मतलब कोई तो होगा. अच्छा कोई नहीं होगा. You'll have a friend, you'll have a cousin, an aunt, a neighbor, someone around the corner that you know, and be like, excuse me, आप मेरी help कर दें. You're standing there and you're like, it's 12 in the night. There's nobody you can call.
And nobody you can trust.
Nobody you can trust.
Yeah, किसको बोलो कि listen.
And you can't break the lock yourself either. And you just sit there. And you know, that's the day I was like, this is a really funny situation, because me a year back in that situation, I would have cried and I would have panicked and I would have, I don't know, it would have been a really bad night for me. This is what it teaches you. So I literally sat outside and I laughed at myself first. Like I literally laughed. I was like, this is really funny. And you learn these things. I was just like, it's a problem and I can think of solutions. That's the only way.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of solutions I was thinking. I was like, there's a car parked there. I can ask whoever's car it is, like my neighbors, if I can sleep in their car. Maybe, like, these are the kind of weird things you start thinking that you've never experienced. But eventually मैंने YouTube खोला. उससे देखा कि if you don't know how to unlock a lock, how do you do it? So these are just tiny examples that I'm giving to sort of establish the point that I think it was a great learning experience for me. I also learned the language, so that was really fun. Never learned a language in my life. And lastly, developed a huge appreciation for the life we have here. Despite all the problems this country has, and I'm not discounting that we don't have problems.
Yeah.
You realize that you have so much only when it's not there.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
Simple thing. Like when I landed back in Pakistan, I went to a coffee shop and I was like, mujhe cafe latte mil jayegi. I was like, in Turkey, I used to struggle just to say this.
Yeah. Yeah. Language barrier itna zyada hai.
Language barrier, all of small things. Like I would get really annoyed by my mom waking me up at a certain time every hour, right? So when I moved, मैं 12 बजे तक सो रही हूँ, 2 बजे तक सो रही हूँ, उठ रही हूँ, And I realized that in itself is such a blessing.
Yeah.
Where somebody knocks and says, hello, like, 10 baj gaye hain, what's your situation in life?
Yeah.
So a lot of appreciation for the things that I have, for the things that this country offers, and also a lot of knowledge about what all I'm capable of.
Yeah. Self-discovery.
And lastly, जो आजकल बड़ा popular, I feel like it's a great experience in that also, being able to look after yourself truly.
Yeah.
Because we don't realize
when
like you're in a bad mood today, when you're at your home, you can literally say मैंने नहीं खाना and just go to bed, right? Because one, somebody might come and be like नहीं कुछ खा ले. दूसरा, you're sure सुबह उठ के तो कुछ मिल ही जाएगा. When you're on your own, you're like एक second, आप खाना खा लें, क्योंकि हो सकता है सुबह उठें तो अंडे ना हो, तो चल के मार्केट जाना पड़े, तो उसके लिए एनर्जी चाहिए होगी. So this tantrum you cannot throw anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these little things, but great experience in self-discovery. Yeah.
Yeah, really makes you check your privilege.
Yes,
yeah.
It teaches you a lot of gratitude.
Yeah.
Lot of Yeah.
That's good. So Marya, is there anything else that you want to talk about or share with us? I would like if you could tell us a bit about the filmmaking side of things and sort of like what goes on behind there and what are your learnings on that end.
Sure. Okay. So filmmaking has been a very rewarding experience for me because when I moved to Islamabad, there wasn't much of an indie film culture over here. So pehle, making a team from scratch, like I said, your own personal conviction carrying you through something where everyone else is saying, listen, you want to do films? Why don't you go to Karachi? Why are you trying to build a thing in Islamabad?
Yeah.
Again, personal conviction. Did that. Got to tell stories where the initial feedback I used to get from people is, yaar, ye koi nahi dekhna chahta jo aap bana rahi hain. Like, nobody wants to see these introspective, slow films. People want to see
films.
Masala and this and that. And I used to be like, nahin, it's not possible. If the stories reflect people's actual lives and emotions, there has to be an audience that appreciates it. Yeah. So that was very heartwarming for me, that I actually found an audience for them, actually found people who really appreciated that. Of course, like everything else, had its hardships, still does. It's not an inexpensive profession to pursue. You need producers, you need money. Similarly, it was still is a very male-dominated industry. You're working with male crews, you're working with a lot of staff members who are men, and establishing your authority in that environment takes a while. But again, you put your head to it, you can do it. And I think, very happy with my film career in the sense that I think every story that I wanted to tell, I've been able to tell.
Okay, that's a success.
Yes.
For you. Yeah.
Yes. And now at this stage, I've been writing for the past 1 year. I haven't been directing because initially I've been writing and directing both. Now I'm writing for other people.
Oh, okay.
Because I also want to see, like as a person, like, where do I take it from here? So I'm sort of reevaluating whatever, but in the meantime, I'm writing for the people. So I've been working on this web series that might be made in the next year, and then I'll announce it. I can't announce it now.
Of course.
And wrote another web series called Ben last year, wrote a film for a friend. So I'm writing. And I do think that, the recent success of Joyland and, Maula Jat, I feel like...
There was also another one, Kamli.
I feel like we have so much potential as a country for filmmaking. If, again, हम अपनी identity को थोड़ा सा define करके ना Bollywood से थोड़ा सा अलग होने की कोशिश करें, because we've had that voice. हमारे ड्रामे, हमारी चीज़ें, we've had a very unique voice that we've somehow, I don't know, like blurred out over the years. But every time we tap into it, we've been able to create something really beautiful.
Yes.
So I'm still a huge believer of Pakistani cinema if we continue to do the kind of work we've been doing in the past few years. Yeah.
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Good luck with your work. Inshallah, would like to see, the web series you come out with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for...
No, thank you for having me. It was very fun talking to you.
Yeah, we've been speaking for 1.5 hours.
Wow.
But I would say कि इसमें से एक moment और एक second भी boring नहीं था. At least for me, I was very engaged.
नहीं, thank you. I was very engaged. I mean, it felt like I was just chatting to a friend. You know, that I like your format a lot. I feel like you make your guests feel really comfortable because I've seen a lot of other podcasts also, but I feel like you have a very warm. And you have a very warm personality to begin with. That makes a huge difference.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marya.
Thank you, Hamna. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Please leave your comments. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'd also like for you to share your views on all the things we talked about. I think some of the most important topics, divorce, marriage, our society's obsession with both and also of course social media and everything attached to it. I'll see you again next time and Allah Hafiz.